All right, so ASUS made an ROG board for the P55 chipset, the Maximus III Formula. Stay tuned and I'll show it to you in just a second. All right, so here she is. This is the ASUS Maximus III Formula. Now, currently, the P7 P55D from ASUS is the highest line board they have. It's packed with features. It overclocks like crazy. It's got a bunch of cool stuff. But this is taking it a step higher. This is the Republic of Gamers. So very high-end ROG. They're using the new Extreme design idea. They have this new concept. It's called Extreme Design. It's got all the latest and greatest features. It's got the Stack Cool 2, so it's got really cool cooling for your MOSFETs and your VRMs. It's got 2 ounces of copper in the printed circuit board, kind of like Gigabyte has been doing with their ultra durable 3. Well, this is the same thing. This is cool Stack 2. So if you look at the back, you got really nice bolted bolt-on CPU. All the coolers on here are all bolt-on. They're not pin-on, so you can actually remove them if you want to water cool. You do have this really big plate back here for Stack Cool. It's going to keep everything nice and cool. Also, you'll notice that the CPU coolers and the VRMs and the chipset coolers and everything are very small. So this is your main chip cooler. It's heat pipe connected to your VRMs and your MOSFETs. You will also notice that the hardware, and this is absolutely ridiculous, solid caps. I mean, look how many there are, first of all. And they're all like chrome. Give you a little bit of extra bling bling. There's a bunch up here. Look at all these phases of power. This is 16 plus 3 phases of power. So you have 3 phases for your memory, you have 16 for your CPU, and you have an additional 3 for your terminal voltages for your processor. So that's a lot of power. And on top of these are all running really cool because they have new technology that makes sure that the heat is evenly distributed between all these VRMs to make sure that you have an even amount of heat going through them, because sometimes you have like 16 phases. Only 2 of them were getting hot, so that kind of sucked. So let's talk a little about the specs, and then we'll kind of get into the high-end features that this board has. Now, first of all, as far as specifications go for the socket, you do know this is a socket 1156. So for your Core i5s and your Core i7s from Intel, basically your 750 and your 860s for now, which are the basic CPUs. There will be more coming out in the future, but that's what you're using right now. 4 DIMMs right over here, DDR3 dual channel memory, up to 1600 megahertz native, and then 2100 plus megahertz with overclocking. You will note up here, regular one. Down here, though, it's got the ones that you just kind of push in. They don't really have anything down there. That's going to help you fit larger video cards, which is quite interesting. Another thing that's cool about this is SATA ports. So here's 2 SATA ports. These are for your optical disk drives, so quite interesting. They give you kind of a separate ones. You can basically use them for whatever you want, but they do say ODD in there, so SATA ODD. They also give you 2 other separate ones down here at the bottom. These are the Speedy. Or the speeds. So basically, these are RAID 0. These are controlled by a J microcontroller. They're going to give you a very fast RAID 0 performance. And then on top of that, you do have an additional 6 over here. These goes directly to P55. So these are also going to give you very nice RAID performance. RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, 0 plus 1, 1 plus 0, JBOD. Basically, everything that you could want is going to work on here too. Also, very nice to mention, this thing comes with a Supreme FX card. So this is an EAX 4.0 PCI Express X1 card. It's basically going to do 7.1 channel HD audio. It's got SPDIF, both optical and analog. So you can do both the optical, the analog, the digital with no problems. It also has an SPDIF input on the back, so that's pretty normal for a high-end card like this. And it does light up, so it looks cool in your case. This will light up blue once it is in your system. Now, this doesn't have onboard graphics, so basically this card is going to populate the first slot right here. So basically, it will go like that. Besides that, that means the rest of your slots are pretty much open, and that means that we can talk about them. So starting from over here, this first red slot, this is your first PCI Express X16 right here. Then you have PCI Express X1, a standard PCI, another X16 2.0, another PCI, and then finally another PCI Express X16. Basically, as far as electrical lanes go and bandwidth, 1 card up here is going to run an X16. 2 cards is going to bifurcate down to X8, X8. This 3rd card down here is locked at X1, so it's basically, this is a dual SLI or quad SLI system. It's not going to really do triple SLI very well. You do have 2 PCI slots, and you do have an extra X1, so you can add a lot of stuff there. You can do a lot of cool with that extra slot. While we're down here, it's good to note that you do have a start and reset button. So if you're working on a tech bench, you can go ahead and use those, but there almost is no reason not to hook up the front panels, because these do come with the really handy-dandy Q connectors from ASUS, so this makes plugging up the front panel very, very simple. You shouldn't really have any problems doing those at all. So very, very convenient to have all of those. Now let's move on. I want to show you a couple of the chips on here, starting with, if I can find it, there it is. All right, this is your iROG chip right there. This is important. This chip, what it does is it basically gives you a hardware connect to your BIOS. This is what lets you overclock from your BIOS. It lets you overclock with ASUS's ROG Connect. And that is another really exciting feature. And you know what? Let's just jump right into that. Check out this cable. It's a regular old USB cable. No big deal, but it has a specific place that you're supposed to plug it in on the back of the motherboard. So back here next to your PS2s and 9 USB ports and FireWire and eSATA and gigabit Ethernet that's specifically designed for gaming, you have this really cool little port, and this is called ROG Connect. And you basically plug in your USB cable here. And what this does is with one button, it's actually going to hook up to your laptop or your netbook, and it's basically going to turn that into a BIOS controller. It's going to give you all control of the BIOS. Pretty much every feature in the BIOS is controllable on the fly through a netbook or a laptop using this ROG Connect cable. Very, 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 very neat feature. So that's definitely a plus for overclockers. Now, if you're not going to be overclocking this board, you do have a lot of other cool stuff on here. And I'll show you another chip that's pretty interesting, since it's right here. I don't know if you can see that chip right there. That's the EPU engine. Basically, if you're not going to be overclocking and you do care about power efficiency, the EPU 6 engine is going to help you throttle your memory, throttle your graphics cards, pretty much throttle everything on the board to help you save a ton of energy. It even tells you as far as like pounds of CO2 gas that you're saving by the amount of energy that you're saving. So it's very interesting to have that. Now, if you're going to overclock, you're not going to really using the EPU 6 engine or the software that comes with it, but you will be using the Turbo V or the Extreme Tweaker engine. Turbo V lets you check all your voltages. Extreme Tweaker lets you adjust everything else, all your frequencies, all your settings, your multipliers, all that stuff, so you can overclock from inside the BIOS. Now, there also is a host of other really cool overclocking features. Let me show you. Come down here, right over here. Those are your voltage read points. Look at them. You have all of them right there. Platform control hub, your memory, the integrated media controller, CPU, your PLL, your termination voltages are all there. You also have the Q LEDs, which are really cool. Those tell you your voltages with a light. So green for a stock voltage, yellow for a slightly altered voltage, and then red shows you when you're really, really up there cranking up the voltage. You also have the MEM OK button. Very, very cool. Basically, if you're throwing in some pretty high-end memory, it's not going to run standard. You're going to push this. It's going to drop your latencies. It's going to increase your voltage. It's going to get your memory running no matter what. So you don't have to worry too much about what memory you're running if it's compatible. You throw some good DDR3 in there, and it will get it to run, at least to make it post. And then in turn, when you're done with that, you can go into the BIOS, set it to what you want it to be set up if you are a hardcore overclocker. Now, there's a bunch of other really cool features. Let's talk a little bit about some of the accessories you get on this, because there's a lot of good stuff now. There are a bunch of USB 2.0 and FireWire headers on this board. So not only do you have the 9 that are over here on the back panel, you have a bunch hidden down here, a bunch of USB 2.0s and a bunch of FireWire headers. So they give you this bracket basically to hook you up with more places to put them. You do get a bunch of SATA cables, both the regular ended ones like that, and then the ones that have the 90-degree, which are good for hard drives and SSDs and stuff like that, and optical drives. They're a little bit more convenient. Bend down at 90 degrees. Again, the Q connectors, very, very useful. More SATA cables. You do get an SLI bridge included in the package. Crossfire comes with the video card. SLI comes with the motherboard. You do get a driver disc. The cool sound card that we mentioned earlier, it's the Supreme FX X5, which is the EAX 4.0. Now, great. This is the input-output shield. Very, very nice. Not only does it have basically a grounding method so that you cannot accidentally set off an electrical static discharge, it also is padded to protect against electromagnetic interference. So basically, as far as input-output shields go, this is the cream of the crop, very high-end. Another incredible feature that I fell in love with is this. Check out this little set of stickers that tells you which hard drive goes where, which optical drive goes where, and matching colors so that you can run array to array and know which ones are part of the array and which ones are not. Extremely genius, ASUS. You guys are killing it. Very, very smart. One more big sticker in the box. It's a case emblem or badge. It's very large. It would go in the corner of your case, and it would probably look pretty darn cool in just about any computer, regardless of whether it's got a nice case or not. It's just a really neat sticker. And then, of course, this is not exactly the most simple motherboard. There's a lot of cool features, so you do have a very, very nice, thorough, extremely thorough book, because there is a lot of good stuff on here. So very, very nice motherboard. Lots of features. Lots of stuff in the box. They made it look cooler. Basically, they kind of got rid of the older style ROG. It was a little bit over the top. You'll notice that P55, since it doesn't really have a north bridge, it doesn't really have a south bridge, it definitely runs cleaner. It's a lot more low profile. Remember, we used to have all these boards that had really big coolers in the middle, and they were just over the top with the VRM and the MOSFET cooling. That's no longer the case. Very low profile board. The highest thing on it is this little tower in the back, which is basically USB, eSATAs, and FireWire ports that are on the back. So that's the highest thing. All these are very low profile. All the VRMs are very low profile. In the middle, very low profile. There's actually nothing really there. Basically, this is going to light up, but underneath here, there's nothing. P55 is over here, the platform control hub. That's the one chip on the board, and then the chip on the processor, and that's it. Everything else is done on the die, so you have all your controllers on here, memory controllers all on the chip itself. So very simple board. Basically only has 2 chips, and then of course, you know, the controllers and stuff, but those don't really count as chips. So really nice. And then obviously it's an ASUS board, it's ROG. There's a ton of features that I did not mention. That's right, there is stuff that I did not mention. You know the list of those stuff. All the extra software it comes with, all the extra abilities and programs and stuff. I mean, I didn't write them all down even, but MemoK, the Probe IT, which basically lets you plug into a small header. I'm not sure where it is, but there's a really small header you can plug into. It gives you a temperature probe. You can stick that anywhere. And in turn with that, you can use the COP-EX, which is the component overheat protection, which basically says, hey, if anything on this probe gets above a temperature that I set it off, I want you to turn the computer off or throttle something back or do something. So it's really good for hot cases if you want to make sure that after 4 hours of gaming, your GPU doesn't get to some ridiculously high temperature. That feature's there. Game First is a teaming and packet optimization for your 10100 1000 Ethernet port. Basically says, hey, I'm downloading, I'm streaming a video, but I'm also playing a game. I want the game to have the #1 priority amongst the packets coming through the port. And basically that's going to make sure that even if you're doing LAN talk or if you're doing other things, downloading stuff, your game comes first. That's why it's called Game First. Good thinking. Extreme tweaker, load line calibration. Load line calibration is ASUS's way of saying V-droop control. So basically, when you jump up from 0% usage to 100% load, your voltage goes through the roof, and so from factory, Intel makes it so that it kind of comes back down. But if it comes down and you're trying to be up here, it'll crash. You know, if you need to be at 1.4 volts at like 4 point something on your water loop, you need to have that voltage. And if it drops down to 1.3, you're going to have some problems. So lots and lots of features. If you really want to check them all out, go to the ASUS website and look at them. The list is never, never ending. So very, very good board. Very extreme right now. If you're an overclocker, you're going to love it. If you like highly featured regular motherboards and you don't want to overclock, you're still going to love it. If you're a gamer, you're going to love it. Very, very sick board. It's the Maximus III Formula. If you have any questions on it, feel free to email me, and I'll see you guys next time. For more information on the ASUS Maximus III Formula motherboard, go to com.computertv and type in Maximus III Formula into the search bar. For Computer TV, I'm Albert.